a lot of people do stop and maybe should take a second to think about it and go, man, like, what are my goals for this year coming up or for the next 5 years? Do I have any? Or am I just going through the motions of my day-to-day routine? We're growing. Last year's version of us is not this year's version of us. But why does that stop for so many of us? Why does that not continue for the rest of our lives? And why don't we make it a point for it to continue? Another quote that he kind of gave from Benjamin Franklin's quote, actually. Most men die at age 25. We just don't get around to burying them until they're 75. And that was like...
Yeah, that was...
This here is for you guys, the movers and the shakers, the motivated and creators, the big thinkers, the big dreamers, the outliers, the one pushing the needle forward, the students of the game and the ones making their lanes, the ones that get things done and know everything is one. Welcome to your pod, the Everything is Everything podcast. Let's go!
Can't ignore it, this my story, I've been more than ready. And this stuff I'm cooking up, it's like culinary. True intentions, must I mention, it's just legendary.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Everything is Everything podcast. My name is Vladimir Ledesma.
And my name is Fabio Suarez.
And today we got a special episode for you guys. We're going to be covering a book here.
By Ed Mylett, Max Out Your Life. It's an amazing book.
Just crazy. Max Out Your Life is just like so much information on here that I just felt was so valuable and I'm going to be using moving forward. So, Junior, what was one of the first things you kind of want to touch on that you felt was
for
big for you?
I think the first thing was about time. You're just talking about how we all have a limited amount of time. He said 86,400 seconds in a day.
Yeah.
And so when you look at that, and then you look at all the time that you spend sleeping, working, driving, you only have so many years to enjoy.
Right.
And so I think that was the biggest point that I got from this, and it made me realize how much more we have to keep track of our time on the things that matter.
On the things that matter. I think that's definitely the biggest point, is like focusing on making sure that what you're spending the time on is things that really matter. Because we spend so much time on arguments, miscellaneous things, stressing, when really we're here for only a certain amount of time. We really should be focusing on trying to, maximize that time and really enjoy the time with our family and our friends and our loved ones, right?
Right.
I think that's the most important. So yeah, that's a super great point. We're gonna probably be flying through these points because there's so many that I want to cover. I felt like the book is literally a 2-hour read, and he covered so many great points. I mean, it was such an easy read. I recommend this book to everyone. So when a gentleman stopped him and said, enjoy this 6-year-old version of your daughter. When she's 7, the 6-year-old version is gone forever. And what he took from that, it was like, it kind of like clicked with him. Like, we're growing. Last year's version of us is not this year's version of us. But why does that stop for so many of us? Why does that not continue for the rest of our lives? And why don't we make it a point for it to continue? Another quote that he kind of gave from Benjamin Franklin's quote, actually. Most men die at age 25. We just don't get around to burying them until they're 75. And that was like...
Yeah, that was one of the best points. And it goes back to timing. It's like...
Yeah.
We all get settled. We get settled for the life that we have.
Yeah. I don't even know if we're content or we feel like we've done enough. Funny that he gives that 25, right? Because that's usually when people finish college,
or start their careers.
Start their career. Both those things happen like at the same time almost. And I feel like that is a big win for people, right? They're like, all right, I'm in my career. I'm settled into life now. Like, now just give me my wife, give me the house, and I'm settled in. Like, I'm here. And it's like, okay, and those are all things that I think we all want as human beings, and nothing's wrong with that, but why do we put a ceiling on it? Why does it seem like most of us put a ceiling there,
right,
where there's no more like achieving, no more big growth that we're looking for? And I think constant evolving, which is the point that he was making with this, is to constantly be evolving yourself. Like, Yeah, okay, great, you got your career. What is the next step for you in your career? What is the next goal that you're looking to thrive for? Because ultimately, those things are what keep us alive, I think. You know, goals, for me, is literally what keeps the needle moving forward.
Right.
So I just felt like that was such a great point and something that a lot of people do stop and maybe should take a second to think about and go, man, like, you know, what are my goals for this year coming up or for the next 5 years? Do I have any?
Yeah.
Or am I just going through the motions of my day-to-day routine?
And something that he said that we spoke about on last time, it was he's accountable for someone when he dies. Like he knows and he feels like he's accountable to God, you know, and that's his faith. And I resonated with that because I feel the same way.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he said was, you know, there's an ultimate version of myself. We're gonna either be very close when I get to heaven, or we're not gonna know each other at all. And that was a good point. It's like, what are you doing every day to get closer to that ideal self?
Right.
So I think
the
that
ideal
was
version of yourself.
Exactly that. The best version of yourself. The person that, you know, is triumphant and conquers and moves the needle, you know, in whatever you're doing.
Right.
That person that has exceeded, you know, everybody else's expectations and more importantly, God, right? Like he's obsessed with, I want to make sure that God is pleased with me when I'm done on this earth.
Right.
Which I think was a great point because that's what gives me purpose and gives me like reason to wake up, reason to try new things, you know, to push myself, because if it wasn't for that idea, I think I wouldn't even care to do anything. So
I love that. Yeah, no, it's powerful. And then one thing he just said at the end of the first chapter, and I was like, yeah, this is definitely for us. Is like, this book is for the crazies. And I love that because it was like, if you're fine and happy with your life, then maybe this isn't for you, because he's saying he's pushing boundaries. This is all about pushing boundaries and going for extremes. So, you know, if you're comfortable with where you're at, then, you know, God bless, and you're blessed and you're happy, and that's beautiful. This is more for the people that are like always striving to find the next thing, to leave this earth knowing I left everything on the court. Right? Like, there's that analogy of, like, you know, if you're a basketball player, I left everything on the court.
Right.
Like, I don't want to look back and live with regret. Like, there was a part of this that I didn't fulfill, or I didn't really attempt, and I didn't give my all. Even this podcast is really a dream of ours, I think, right? That we just, something that we really wanted to do. I wanted to do this for so long.
Yes.
I already, you know, I started the Everything is Everything podcast back in, like, 2021, and I did like 6 episodes with friends and things, but it wasn't consistent. It wasn't really what I wanted it to be. It wasn't until Fabio reached out and really said to me, you know, I want to do something with you. Let's do something together. And I was like, well, this is something I really want to do. And he was like, me too. Yeah. Great. Let's make this a reality, and let's push these boundaries of our comfort, right, and get in front of these cameras.
And I felt like that was what my ideal self or my highest version would be doing. So it's like, I gotta start doing things that person would do, and this is definitely one of them.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. And then he speaks about he sleeps for 6 hours, and also speaks about his morning routine, which I think is so important. I am of the belief that having a great morning routine, or just really starting your day early, is very important. It does come from books I've read, like the Miracle Morning. Have you ever read the Miracle Morning?
No.
We're gonna definitely have a pod on the Miracle Morning. But he kind of hit a lot of the points that are mentioned in that book, and a lot of high quality, high producing people really follow this morning routine. I'm not even the best with morning routines, just first and foremost, but I've made such an effort, and my daughter's actually held me accountable in making sure that I'm up every morning, because I don't have a choice anymore. But that is like, I love that, because like he mentions in this book, really, so much is conquered in the morning.
Right. So
much is conquered in the morning. Like, he does a cold shower. He does, just to make sure that he's all the way awake. And again, these are extremes. and even he mentions it's not for everyone.
Right.
I'm not saying that everyone's got to live this way and that it's for everyone, but it is so like it does show what it's done for his life, and that's just what he's sharing. So just morning routines of like what he eats, showering, exercising. I think everyone should at least get some sort of movement, exercising in the morning. It doesn't got to be like a full blown, but like, you know, solid stretch and what he's eating, and then just having a productive lineup and his day lined up.
Yeah, he really leaves like an example of what we should follow. Like we always talk about this, we're still on a journey, right? And
Of course.
I think that he gave a lot of tips that I'm gonna start following myself. Just that idea of the 6 hours.
Yeah.
That's a great thing to implement. And it kind of connects to the 5 pillars that I also practice.
Okay.
So is this something that I'm going to implement more as I move forward in this process?
So you're going to try to do the shorter amount of hours of sleep, or
No, just the other things that he talked about, like the whole 6 hours of you should put your day into 6 hours.
oh, incrementally focusing your day into 6 hours to
Yes.
make them like
yeah,
day.
be more conscious of that
Right.
as I move forward, because I do see how productive that could be.
Yeah, absolutely. I do.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. I do just want to make fun of him a little bit because that meme was hilarious. If you guys didn't see that meme, it basically what he says about the 6 hours that he has 3 days in one day.
Yes.
He makes 3 days out of one day, so he's beating any normal person's day because he breaks his days into 3 days.
Yeah.
Into the 6 hours, or is it at 4 days? He has 4 days.
Yeah, he
right?
says that he has 3 days in.
No, he has 4 days because he does 6 hours. But it's funny because then there was like a meme. You know, the internet is undefeated, so they were like, "Oh well, I'm better than you because I break my days into minutes, and I break my days into seconds." And it was just hilarious. We might put a link to it because it was just that funny.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, what he was saying is super productive and super valuable because again, it's about focusing on the time and making sure you make the most of your time. So that was super good. Do you have a morning routine that you currently follow right now?
So right now, it's pretty basic, and I feel like it works for me. And I think that's another good point to mention is like what works for you, because sometimes there's guys that do stuff like that, like they throw themselves in cold water and all these things.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not it's not good. It might be great for some people, but that's not something that I do now.
Right.
You know, for me it's just simple. You know, I wake up, I pray, read the Word of God, go right into like a quote of the day or a book that I've been thinking about. I might read something from that.
Nice.
I might journal. And then go on about my day, getting ready. It really depends on the day.
So you have your routine though.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
That's a solid routine. You do your scribing, you do your meditations and your
Exactly.
prayers.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely a part of. You'll like the 5 hour. The miracle morning. That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
All of this is a big part of it. It's like all waking up, taking 10 to 20 minutes for yourself.
Yep.
Getting the body in motion. Scribing, reading.
Right.
And then stuff, basically winning your morning, because then that's how you're gonna win your day, right? You're
Right.
just getting your mindset ready, in a positive mind frame before the world attacks you with all the BS that the world can attack you.
Yeah, and he was saying that too in the book. He was like, we gotta be less reactive, because most of us are always reacting to
100%.
life rather than you being in control of the day. So that's why having that miracle morning or having that morning routine is so good.
It's powerful, yeah. I want to say this here though. I am gonna get a cold plunger, and we're gonna do that.
Let's do it.
We're gonna do it and record it for you guys so that you can see it.
I'm open to that. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm open to anything that's gonna propel me to
I think
to the next level.
I mean, if you're open to it, man, we can start doing the workout, the plunge and the workout before the pod.
I'm already working out, so I'm ready. If you tell me that you're gonna do that next time, I'm ready to do it. So
Yeah, okay, perfect. So let's get it. I'm gonna hold you to it. Get ready.
let's go.
This is what it's all about: pushing boundaries. We're gonna push so many boundaries here, because we're just looking to grow.
Exactly.
And if you're here, you're probably looking for the same thing.
Right.
So we appreciate you guys.
And now that you said growth, like I think something that he talks about really great in the book is the identity thermostat. I don't know if that caught your
Oh, that
attention.
definitely caught my attention.
But
yeah.
that was a big one when I first started listening to him. I was like, first I was hearing him, and he seemed really interested in the things that he was saying. But when he started talking about identity, like that was the most important thing that pulled me to him. And identity, we all suffer or don't know exactly what that is or how to help me out. How to
I think we do know exactly what that is, and we just don't know how to change it.
Yeah.
We know what our thermostat is.
Right. And so, yeah, when he was talking about that, like, if you want to improve your identity or if you want to get better, at valuing yourself, you got to start learning how to keep your word to yourself and to the people around you.
Right.
Which is why this morning I felt so bad. I was like, this can't happen again. So, it's one of those things that the more you do that, the more your thermostat goes to where it needs to be.
Absolutely. The more small wins you have, the more accountable you hold yourself, and the more you actually come through with the things that your words say. When it's in alignment. I don't remember what book that's from, but it's definitely like an alignment. When your words, your soul, and your mind all are in line, you are at your ultimate self, pretty much, because everything is cohesive. Like, you're one with the universe. You're moving at the right frequency.
And he was saying that, when you don't do that, you tend to, like, look down on yourself. And that's why people don't think they deserve whatever that is that they're seeking.
Exactly,
like,
right.
They want it, but they feel like they don't deserve it.
Because they don't believe in themselves enough. Because they haven't proven it to themselves enough. Right? Which is the point that you're making. And, like, so I'm big on accountability. So I almost don't leave anything to my own devices, because if it's up to me, I may let myself down, but I won't let you down. So, like, even when you see me put things like, hey, let's start at 8:30, it's really me pushing me.
Yeah.
But if I told you that and I've already spoken to the world and now I know, oh, now Junior's day is dependent on me starting at this time or whatever it is, I'm going to move everything I got to do that, because
now you're involving other people.
It's important to me to not let you down, because that means that's going to be a reflection of what you see of me, and what you see of me is also going to be a reflection of what I feel. Right? So every time I it's like a token, it's like a win. Every time I do it and I hold up to the expectation, I know that it's a reality. I know, like, oh, I'm living in my truth. Like, I said I would do this, and I'm doing that. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's not a shot, by the way. But that's not a shot. But it's just to say, these are like little hacks I've put for myself, and I do it for everything. Because I can't trust myself to just do it. Like, just like even what he's talking about with the Miracle Morning, I love the idea of it. But without an accountability partner, I'm not the best at it. I do need accountability partners. That's why I tell you, I'm going to get a plunger, but I'm already throwing you in it. Because I need you. The reality is, I need you, because I know I'm going to hold you accountable, but that's what's going to hold me accountable when you show up. If you don't show up and you slack for a few days, then I'm going to slack. Now I'm going to be like, oh, now I have an excuse to slack.
Yeah, like, that's why it's good to have, like you said, accountability partners.
Because it just holds you accountable. But to the point of the thermostat, which would to drive that home, and what they were talking about there is, if your temperature is always 70 degrees, and like your lifestyle, like your income is 70 degrees, your time with family is 70 degrees, whatever you're into doing, like, you're at an average of that 70, you really want to get around people whose temperature is 85 degrees.
In that area.
In whatever that specific area is, right? So if it's working out, you really want a trainer around you that's a trainer.
Or you even want to get around someone, like to be completely transparent, like my brother-in-law, he works out all the time. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start working out with him since I have time off. Let me get close to him, because he's stronger in this area.
Absolutely.
And if I spend more time with him, I'm going to do it too. Like, we're talking about accountability. And it's so simple, what I just said, but most people would not do that. But your temperature goes up. And the closer you get to those type of people, is like, it keeps going up.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, if you don't keep up with that, you will go back to the 70, the 50, like your working out self.
You're gonna what he said is, you'll always go back to your same temperature if you're not pushing the envelope. Like if you fall off of that, then yeah, automatically you'll go back. He goes, that's why you'll see people that it's a belief also, right? Like if you believe that you're supposed to be making $70,000 a year, and that's I make $70,000 a year. It's gonna be very hard for you to make 120 because your belief system is at 70,000. So even if you have the ability to make 120, you might still make 70 because your mind doesn't believe it yet.
Right.
Another great point that Ed Mylett went into was the flawed thinking. Like I'll be happy. I'll be happy when, like there's always something to do and you don't really start living. He was like, you gotta live now. He was like, because again, time is so finite. You don't know how much time you have.
Yeah.
So he was like, you gotta live now. Like the I'll be happy when is like it's limiting because then you're never happy is what you're saying.
And you're big on that. You always talk to me a lot about that, and yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, like it's just so important to like reward yourself now because your ideal person is who you're striving to be, but it's also within you already.
Yeah.
So you have to get closer to the things that ideal person wants, and again, just be doing what that ideal person wants. So be doing it in all facets. Like yes, for business, do it, but also what does that ideal person lifestyle look like? And maybe you can't go get on a yacht today, but maybe you can go get on a jet ski.
Yeah.
And like something where you can go match it, because the more you match it, and that was another point of what I love, and it goes back to that temperature thing, is the more you're living in proximity to that ideal person, the more you're truly becoming that ideal person.
Yeah.
And I love that because like it literally, I was reading it and I was like, oh, I'm planning my next trip tomorrow. Yeah. I was like, tomorrow, because I've been postponing it this summer. I've been like, oh, like my wife is going to Florida, and I was like, I'm not gonna go because I got work to do. And I was like, that's a limiting belief. I'm putting a limit on myself. Yes, I have work to do, and I'm not gonna stop from doing my work. But that doesn't mean I already have a goal that I'm supposed to be planning my trips at the beginning of the year. And this year I limited myself on doing that. Like I did a few, but not as many as I'm supposed to for the ideal person that I'm supposed to be. And the truth is, like, why am I limiting that? Yeah. That's my temperature trying to get me back to that poverty mindset, that limited mindset of saying, oh, I can only do this much. No, why? So tomorrow I'm planning my trip to the Grand Canyon.
There you go.
We need to do.
Being blissfully dissatisfied is what
being blissfully dissatisfied.
So short and simple, but that's the idea. Live into that person that you want to be in all areas.
Absolutely,
including the freedom pillar. And
right.
That is what you said. Like, let me do it. I'm gonna throw myself. I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna enjoy it, because you never know. While you're limiting yourself in that way, you might actually meet the next business partner when you're
right. Meet the next business, but not, for me, I already know what vacations do for me. Like, I'm gonna come back rejuvenated and ready to kick ass. I'm gonna come back ready to go way harder, because the reason why I love vacations is because, one, I just love the time away, obviously, to peace, family, and enjoying life. Those 8 years of life, those are my 8 years. But not only that, I come back with a new battery on my back, because man, do I want to do that again.
Right.
So it's like, woo, what do I got to do to get this going? Because I want to do 5 more of those, 10 more of those. So it's a big battery for me that I put in my back when I go on those. So why limit what's giving me the most life, what's giving me the most drive? Why would I limit that? Right. So that's kind of the concept and what I got away from that. So blissfully dissatisfied, powerful.
You're grateful, but you're still moving forward. You still want what you want, but you're grateful for what you already have. And the best way is by enjoying those people.
100%.
With them.
By being grateful, by trying to do everything you can do now, and still striving for more in the future. So I love that.
And I think another great point that he spoke about, because he's really simple. He says a lot of things, but there's these little quotes that he says that I'm like, man, I love that. And he said, one thing that I really love is that he said, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you.
Yeah, love that.
So that one was good, because in life, I would say we have more problems than more conquest, right? Like, life is filled with problems.
Right.
But if you stop looking at it like, oh no, everything's done, my whole life is done because of this.
Right.
Rather than, wait, there's a solution here. This is actually going to propel me. This is going to get me, to that next level in my life. This is actually a blessing in disguise. like it's just a different way of looking at life.
100%.
When you hear people speak like that, and when you get around people like that, it's like I can't stay stuck in my mind. I can't stay stuck in this problem. How many people have gone through this and overcome it?
Right.
I'm gonna be one to overcome as well.
I think a big way, even to challenge yourself to the words, because words are powerful. Even what you just said, there's more problems than like why. Why is your thought process like that? Is there really more problems, or is that just a thought? Right.
Right.
So like.
Yeah, like challenging that idea.
Challenging that the language and ideas that we have in our own minds to say, maybe that's not the case, but that's just what we've thought and learned. I say that because I used to think the same, like, I'm a big hip hop head. Life's a bitch and then you die. Like, that's a horrible, like, that's
terrible. That's
terrible.
Like,
wait.
I would not even want that in my brain.
Exactly. Yeah. But if that's a fire song, but firm biz. But at the same time, that's a horrible statement to have in your mind because no, it doesn't have to be that way. No, it doesn't.
No.
Life can be a beautiful thing. Like life should be a beautiful thing, but you gotta believe that first,
right? To
make it that. So, I love that. I love what you're saying there. Like everything that's happening. It's not happening to you, it's happening for you. The challenges that you're facing are only making you stronger, are only giving you the ability to grow if you're up for the task, if you're willing to take the challenge and grab the bull by the horns and take the challenge.
Like I don't know if we could cut this out, but I think it's a good point. Like that thing that's going on in Chicago. Like I've come to,
Why you want to cut it out? Go ahead.
All right, cool. But that thing in Chicago, because I don't
Okay.
But one of the things that that thing has been 2 years long. I'm like, when is this gonna end?
Right.
But it goes back to this. It's not like I don't know that. Like I've heard that many times. I've read his book. I've heard his podcast, and it's something that all of these personal development teachers they talk about. And more importantly, what I've learned in church is like your pain is to propel you. It's to get you to wherever you're going.
Right.
But something that for me, when you finally go through, is like, I don't want this.
Right.
But I've learned to embrace it and know that it's actually it's opening up doors for things that were not going to happen before.
Right.
Like I'm literally in the process of working with, Jamal King, and I think it's because of that. If I never threw myself and if I stood around, it could have happened in a different way. I know I should have been a lot wiser, you could say, but even then, it still opened the door for this.
It's still all happening.
And it's still opening up. It's going to open up another one and another one and another one.
And giving you endurance and showing you the real, everything is not rainbows and butterflies, so there's challenges and you're going to have to face them.
Yeah, and something that one of these guys said that I was like, that's also good. It's like, fail forward and fail quickly.
Right.
Don't wait, just fail.
Was that Denzel?
No.
I think Denzel said fail forward.
I know for me, it came from, Darren Hardy, but it's not this book, but he said it in one of his talks, and I was like, yes, that's true. One of the biggest secrets to super achievers is that they fail quickly. They don't wait, let me see what happens. No, they go, and then if they fail, they learn, this doesn't work.
And they move on.
And they keep on adjusting and adjusting and adjusting and adjusting and adjusting, where the person who's not a super achiever, who's not really going after it, right, is like what we spoke about, I'll try another year, maybe next year. But I feel like when you really, really want to reach that ultimate version of yourself, and you're chasing that, greatness. Just fail forward.
And I think that brings us to the conclusion of what we're talking about here, and to what I took as my biggest point. Fail forward, keep growing, keep pushing. So my biggest takeaway was settling is the enemy. Have a mission that completely fulfills you wholeheartedly, and that's truly living. That was literally my takeaway from this whole book. To put it in a nice little bow, that was my biggest takeaway. Strive for your ideal person every single day. Cut out the fat from life of all the worries and all the problems. That they are not important. The importance is to really be striving every single day for that ideal person that you want to be when it's all said and done, and be remembered by, and leave as a legacy for your family. So I think that this book, I would recommend it to everyone to read. It's a really quick read, really awesome. Those were, I think, our biggest takeaways. Did you want to add anything else there?
Yeah, for me, it was definitely the identity, like really working on identity, because that opens up everything else.
Yeah.
Once you really work on yourself, your financial doors open.
Right.
Your freedom opens. Like all these other things start opening. It expands because you believe you're worth it. You start to think like, I am worth, $1 million a month, right?
Yep.
I am worth, going to that vacation, and I could do that and much more if I want to, because I believe I'm worth that. I have held up, my word to myself enough, and I've worked on myself enough, and I know like I'm worth this. And when you finally get to that point and you work on that, like the sky's the limit.
That should be the name of this pod. You're worth it.
You're worth it. Yeah, that
was nice.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that being said, guys, this was another episode. We want to thank you guys again for joining us. If you haven't yet, please take a second to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share with any friends you feel are of the same growth mindset as you are. My name is Vladimir Ledesma.
And my name is Fabio Suarez.
And this is the Everything is Everything podcast. Catch you guys on the next one.
This is extraordinary. Can't ignore it. This my story. I've been more than ready.